Yo, what is going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new locals feature match. Here we are in the fourth and final round of my locals that took place this past Saturday. Here we have my friend Adam, aka Kaz, on the left, playing the Rikka Sun Avalon deck versus my friend Nick, aka the Core Duelist, on the right, playing the Spright Frog deck. This is a very, very similar matchup to what we saw in the previous round where I played Rikka Sun Avalon against my friend Colin, aka C Goody, on his Spright deck. That matchup went in the favor of Rikka. If you guys want to see how that match played out, I'll leave a link to it up in the top right. But I did end up winning that match. And again, if you want to see how I ended up winning it, pretty interesting conclusion to the match. Again, definitely check out the video. But we'll see if this one plays out the same. I said it in the last feature, and I'll say it again in this one. I think Rikka has a pretty strong matchup against Spright, especially if Rikka goes first. Sheet pretty much is an FTK, and going second with cards like Dark Ruler, some builds playing Ultimate Slayer in the side, hand traps, etc., triple tactics talents. I feel like the deck can also, still have a chance going second, so long as the right going second cards are seen. Otherwise, if you don't open up any defensive into the Spright board with Rikka, probably going to be pretty rough. Although your engine can kind of help to break into those fields, Con, Glamour, etc., being basically a pseudo board breaker. We'll see how this one plays out. We're going to see my friend Nick lead here with Swap Frog into blue, into Jet, and we're going to see Jet go ahead and search out a Spright spell or trap from the deck. Of course, we're going to search out Spright Starter, and then he's going to go ahead and activate Spright Starter. Go ahead and special summon a Spright monster from the deck, and it'll take damage equal to its attack. Probably going to be something like red or carrot, obviously, since both Jet and blue are out of the rotation. So there is red. Now establishing a monster negate. Now, pretty solid opening here for Spright. Getting into Gigantic. We're going to see Gigantic effect. Go ahead and resolve here. So far, no hand traps from our Rikka Sun Avalon player. This is going to go ahead and bring out a carrot here. So just basically going for the whole 9 yards combo here. Having access to the double toad and having access to both red and carrot. So going to be a pretty strong end board here. We'll see him bring out the swap, not use its on-field effect, but just go ahead and use the Ronin Toadin in the graveyard, banishing Swap Frog to go ahead and special summon itself out. Then go ahead and Ixie summon for a copy of Toad. And I assume he didn't use the effect of swap on summon so that he could go ahead and use the standby phase effect here, unless he plays dupe, in which he does play dupe. So confused as to why he didn't use that effect there to send another name to the grave. But it's not going to matter, though, regardless, because our Rikka Sun Avalon player is just that nice with it, and he ended up drawing Dark Lure No More as the 6th card off the top. Feels really good to see that. Now, 2 set in the back row. I think we knew another starter was in hand. I think we could see 2 starter in the opening. So you have to be able to assume that one of those set cards is also Smashers at that point. So Smashers can be a very, very tricky card to try to go ahead and play around sometimes with the Rikka deck. A lot of vulnerable things to Smashers. So we're going to go ahead and see him normal summon the Petal after special summoning out Princess. Which I guess he could have just normal summoned the Petal. And then search Mudon all the same and held the Petal in hand, or the Princess in hand. But I guess going for this line also works as well, because he does have access to Sowing and Petal. Sowing Petal is a very, very strong combo, especially if we're talking about like not opening up the standard C line. It's a very good way to start off the combo. So now that he has linked off the Princess into the Dryas, we'll see him activate the Sowing, and that's going to go ahead and bring out a Loci, and alongside it, since he took the 1000 damage, it'll trigger Dryas to go ahead and gain it back, and then summon a Sunvine monster from the extra deck, and he'll go ahead and choose to go for Thrasher here. And of course now the Princess is in the graveyard, so that will allow him to have access to a monster negate. Although you could argue right now he doesn't really need the monster negate at this current juncture. And we're going to see him go ahead and possibly think about linking off the Dryas and the Seed, but I was going to say there's definitely a much better play line available, and that's just linking those into Jasmine, linking the Petal into another copy of Dryas, and then that Seed can so conveniently be linked into a copy of Healer, since that does require a plant vanilla. And that will go ahead and target the Dryas on summon to gain 300 attack times its link rating. So we'll gain 300 life points times its link rating. So we'll be able to gain 300 life points here, putting up to 83. I'm just messing up, my apologies. And that, since he gained life points, will proc Jasmine's effect. Go ahead and search a plant from the deck to the hand. Not a once per turn effect. I think if you gain life points multiple times, Jasmine will proc. Because I believe older builds of Sinavalon were playing a Romage Laurel, which I think when that hit the grave, like they would link for a second Jasmine, and that would trigger both Jasmines. It might be a soft once per turn, or it might just not be a once per turn in general. Like you need another copy. But either way, now we're going to go ahead and see, after he searches a Primula, we're going to see him activate the other effect of Jasmine, tributing off the healer to go ahead and summon another princess from the deck. That'll trigger Primula to go ahead and special summon itself from the hand since a monster he controls was tributed, allowing him to go for a rank 4 play, which of course is going to be a copy of Strenna. Strenna effect will detach to go ahead and target a Rikka or a plant in the graveyard to go ahead and add it back to the hand. I believe he went for a copy of Glamour. Now we still have Snowdrop Mudon in hand, which will allow him to apply just a little bit more pressure here. Now, Dark Ruler is great, but it only turns off the effects, right? You still have to clear the board. It's still up to our Rikka player here to clear the field. That is the most important thing. You've got to be able to clear the field. And that's where, like, kind of the pressure comes into play. So now we're going to see the Snowdrop tribute over the Strenna. And it'll be Chainlink 1 Mudon, Chainlink 2 Strenna to summon out a copy of Hyperiton from the extra deck. A pseudo Omni Negate, only during the opponent's turn, and the Mudon will go ahead and search out Con here. Which at this point, you know, hasn't even been played, hasn't even needed to get access to Sheet, which is going to be big time interruption next turn on the follow-up for our Spright player. So now we're going to see Smashers activated here. In response to Snowdrop's on-field effect targeting herself, to attempt to make all plants with levels that he controls become level 8, and he'll chain Smashers in response, banishing a starter from the field, or a starter from the grave, and a Dupe Frog from the field, since he really won't be needing that anymore. Then we'll see him slap down the Con that'll chain Hyperiton to that, to go ahead and attach a spell to it. Now we have access to a spell negate on the next turn, or we can negate a monster, whichever we choose to do. Then Con's on-field effect will activate now, since he does control a Rikka, to go ahead and set a copy of Sheet from the deck. And now we're going to go ahead and see him go for a Bangalancer here. The only thing I think my friend could have done differently here is actually make Melius and go into Bangalancer instead of, like, saving the Melius. I find, like, saving Melius especially doesn't, like, come up a lot. Like we're seeing here, he already used Thrasher, so, like, the OTK line isn't coming up. So Melius, I think, would have been fine. That will also have allowed him to keep Mudon on field, which would give him access to another form of interruption. But that is just kind of falling by the wayside currently, since we had to link off the Mudon. I think that's the only thing he could have done differently there, is, you know, just go ahead and use the Melius. That saves you a monster on field, and I think that just kind of works out for the better, especially since the Mudon was in defense. And it looks like on attack declaration, or like as he enters the battle phase, we're going to see Starter. Starter's going to summon blue. He'll take another 1100. And then we're going to go ahead and see him add a copy of Pixies off of the blue. And this allows him to gain, you know, one of his Spright monsters. I believe it's for Spright monsters. It allows it to gain 1400 attack, not defense. So he's still able to go into the battle phase here, clearing red, clearing carrot. The two sort of known interruptions right now. Yes, the elf is still on field. Would have been nice to be able to clear that. But, you know, you have to make do with what you have. You have to get rid of red and carrot. And attacking elf could be a little scary, since I believe the Pixies gives it a 1400 boost. Not 1,000, I think it's 14. So it made it 28, which makes it so neither Bangalancer or Hyperiton getting good over it. So we'll see him pass turn there. We're going to see our Spright player lead with Starter. Both cards in hand actually known now, being Swap Pixies. Swap Pixies, very, very easy to kind of beat here. Hyperiton has been expended. We still have Bangalancer, and we still have Sheet. It would have been much better if we still had access to, obviously, a Princess Negate. But right now, we don't have that. And there's really no way to actually contest the Elf. So now Elf is going to activate, targeting Totally Awesome Engrave to go ahead and special summon it back to the field. And unfortunately, it is being pointed to by Elf So it cannot be, you know, interacted with by Sheet, because Sheet does target. Now we're going to see him normal summon Swap Frog and activate the effects. That one Swap Frog being left in deck coming in clutch here. So we'll see him send that to the graveyard. And then Swap will bounce back blue for cost for its hidden effect. And then we're going to see him special summon back the blue out again. Activate blue effect to go ahead and search out Jet. And we know Smashers is out of the deck. But the real question is, does he play 2? Second Smashers would be kind of nice here. But it looks like he will not resolve the effect to search. And just going to go right into a Djinn Buster, which is a monster negate that does burn. Needs 2 level 2 darks, I believe. And now he still has access to a Ronin play, which gets him into another rank 2. And definitely won't be a second Toad, I think is pretty standard right now in most people's extra decks for Spright, is to only ever play 1 Toad, because that's really all you need, is just 1. So we're going to go ahead and see him activate the Ronin now. Ronin is going to go ahead and banish Swap. And then we're going to see him go for a rank 2. I have a feeling it's probably going to be something like Skycab or Onibimaru in this case. And Onibimaru has an effect to banish a monster the opponent controls until their next end phase. And in response, we are going to see Sheet. And Sheet is going to tribute the Toad as cost and target the Onibimaru. The tributing part does not target, obviously, but the target to negate and take does. So we're going to see him get the Toad off the field as cost. Can't even respond to it because, you know, cost is a thing. And then we're going to see him take control of the Onibimaru. Of course, the Onibimaru will still resolve here, banishing the Bengalancer until the end of his opponent's next turn. So that'll be clutch to kind of get back. And, you know, next turn, if he doesn't close out the game here, which he definitely needs to, we're going to see Toad add back a copy of Ronin Toadin. Still has access to Pixies. Still could also technically make a gigantic play here. I don't know really what it will get access to. But we'll see him special summon out the Pixies. And we're going to see him overlay Pixies and Elf into a copy of Gigantic, which is at 3,200. So I guess that does clear the Hyperiton, which is kind of okay. I mean, Hyperiton won't be a negate next turn, but I guess getting over a body will be nice. And it will technically also give him access to Zeus, because the starter was negated. It was negated. The activation was negated by Hyperiton. So he's not locked into level 2s or link 2s, whatever it may be. Just not locked into 2s, as we can see him go into Downard and then into Zeus with 2 Sends available. And we're going to see him use 1 Send now. And that is going to wipe the field. And again, you can also kind of see now why leaving that Mudan on field would have been very, very clutch, giving access to 1 more interruption. So we'll see him pass turn there, end phase. Petal will return as it typically does. And Petal will go ahead and attempt to search. And no response here, just waiting to the main phase, nothing at all. Which I feel like he probably could have gotten away with using the Zeus there. Although we see double Glamour Rivalry in the hand for our Rikka player, so I think even if he used the Zeus Send on the lone Petal, I don't think it would have mattered. Especially if he used it on summon, or at least in the standby phase or the draw phase. But now we're going to see him go ahead and special summon Mudan over top of the Petal. Princess still being engraved as a live negate. And also now we have gotten the search off of Mudan for the Con. We'll see him activate Con. In response, we're going to see Zeus. And there was a ruling question here, whether or not he would be able to use Princess to tribute an opponent's monster if it is on the activation of the card, but sends the effect to be able to tribute an opponent's monster anytime you would activate a Rikka card or effect. Is not like an activated effect. It is continuous. It applies immediately. He can still use that here. At least that's how that was ruled, and I think that makes sense. And we're just going to see our Spright player admit defeat right then and there. And we are into game 2. Reminder, guys, check out my affiliate link to TCG Player down in the description of all my videos. Anytime you guys shop and check out using that link, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase will go right back into the channel and helps out a ton. So, getting into game 2 here, we are going to see the Spright deck decide to go first. Looks like we have Imperm, Swap Water, and starter. And we're going to see him start very, very strong here with swap, pitching Ronan, like I said, dumping swap. And then we're going to see him go ahead and activate starter here. Starter's going to go ahead and go for blue. He'll take the 11. And we're going to see blue probably go ahead and search Jet. And then Jet will probably search Smashers. We also have Pixies in hand here too for our Spright player. I think in our Rikka player's hand, all I saw was a called by. I think that's all I could see. Might have been a copy of Nibiru as well, which is really, really nice. But also, with this opening, definitely going to be easily countered since we started to swap water, and we can make Gigantic under 5 summons as well. So, should be an easily countered Nibiru here. Like, I think making Toad frame 1, like, I don't really think there's a huge punish to that. Especially if you make it in the zone like an Elf points to, like, you even beat Nib Imperm as well. I also see Sunseed Genius Loci, called by Nibiru, Cosmic Cyclone in the hand for our Rikka player. So pretty strapped to go second here. Now we're going to see him bring out the Toad or bring out the Ronan with a swap. And opting to overlay for a Toad, but not going for it. Uh-oh. There's just no way. Is this going to happen? Are we going to see? Are we going to see our Spright player walk into the Nibiru? 5th summon Gigantic. And there is the Nibiru. Now, I will take points off, obviously, to our Spright player, but I will take points off to our Rikka player, who should have activated the Nibiru in response to the Gigantic. This does now open up a potential opportunity for our Spright player now to be able to make a second Gigantic later on and still resolve its effect. So now we're going to see him use the Ronan again with a swap. We go and go into Elf with the token. And then we now have access to Elf. So again, like I said, I think that was the only thing that could have been done better there is just nibbing on the activation of the Gigantic. So now we're going to see him summon out Pixies, swap for Ronan yet again, and then overlay for that second Gigantic. And here's where that punish is. So now he'll still be able to end on Toad through Nibiru, although he could have just prevented the Nibiru completely just by making Toad on the, it would have been like the 3rd summon with Swap Water or Swap Ronan. Like, both players definitely messing up a little bit there, but it happens. We'll see him set 2 and pass turn. One card we know, which is technically Smashers, and the other I think we know is Imperm, actually. We're going to see a Blind Cosmic here in the main phase on the set Imperm. We'll see Imperm Chain in response on the Nibiru, because why not? And they'll take 1,000 for that. So now we know what the back row is. We know that it's Smashers. And now that Nibiru is also on the field, this is going to be able to threaten the Toad and the Smashers all at once. All because the Nibiru was not negated. So we're going to see Smashers in the battle phase, getting rid of Gigantic, getting rid of Nibiru. And main phase 2, now we're going to see Loci get normal summoned here into the Sunseed Genius Loci, or into the Dryas. Toad effect, Chain Call by importantly moving out of that Imperm zone. Imperm column, that was almost tragic. But yeah, he did remember to move it over. And that is just going to be an immediate scoop from our Spright player. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Rikka taking it 2-0. Last but not least, huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members who are Pony Star, Cadillacs84, Justin Lamb, HEH Cyber, and Mango. Thank you guys so much as always for extremely kind and generous support of this channel.